We wrap up our look at the cornerback position by talking about some day two diamonds. I'm Phil Milani alongside Aric DiLalla. Aric, let's start our look here at the cornerback from Utah. That's Jaylon Johnson.
Yeah, Phil, Jaylen Johnson has been mentioned in that first-round conversation, but I think he's a guy who could potentially be there when the Broncos pick at 46, or maybe a guy you could move up a little bit in the second round to get. He has the production you're looking for, more than 20 passes defensed over the last 2 seasons, 6 interceptions over that same time frame. Was first-team All-Pac-12 in 2018, and he's the type of athlete you're looking at the cornerback position. The issue with him is he's had some severe shoulder injuries, 3 surgeries already. And so those medical concerns are what could maybe make him fall from the first round to the second. But if he's there and if you determine he's healthy, again, a big if, he could be a nice add to the secondary.
7 career interceptions at Utah. He was a big-time recruit coming out of high school, originally committed to USC and then decided to switch it over to Utah, pick Utah over schools like Oklahoma and Michigan. So you're talking about a big-time college athlete here, so could be a nice fit on day 2. Aric, let's move on to the cornerback out of Auburn.
Yeah, you're not going to try to pronounce his name, Phil?
You say his name.
Noah Igbinoghene, cornerback out of Auburn. He's a real raw athlete, has that 4.48 speed. It brings everything you want to the position from that standpoint. Mentioned raw, I think he's going to need some coaching. You're going to need to learn these finer points of the game, and really become, he might take a year or 2 to develop into the type of player you want him to be, but he has speed, like we mentioned, and that could help on special teams as well. He's got a pair of kick return touchdowns. If the Broncos can bring that element to their special teams, that obviously would really help. So Igbinoghene could be an option there. Probably in the second round, maybe you could grab him there with your first pick of the third.
He certainly has some athletic genes. Both of his parents were Nigerian track stars, so it runs in the family there. He went to Auburn initially as a wide receiver. A lot of these guys are both wide receiver and defensive back. They kind of teeter on both sides of that. So definitely the case here. Aric, let's wrap up this look at day 2 diamonds by one of your favorite cornerbacks. That's Bryce Hall out of Virginia.
Love this guy, Phil. Kind of your prototypical corner, 6'1", 202 pounds, played, 3 full seasons at Virginia and then got hurt last year. 6 games into the season, had a serious ankle injury. That's kind of the big question about him. He was being talked about as a first-round draft pick before that injury. He's been medically cleared, according to reports, but because of kind of this weird situation with COVID, we're not quite sure how, the Broncos doctors are able to get involved with these guys. So do they have enough information where they feel comfortable taking him? If they do, he's quite the player. He had 24 pass breakups his junior year, 2 interceptions, was a second-team All-American, just a really solid player. Can have some issues at times, it sounds like, with grabbing down the field. I think he had 5 pass interference calls that go against him to start last year. But really, he's the type of player that I look at as maybe a Jake Butt, where obviously that hasn't worked out great for the Broncos so far, but if he does pan out, you're getting a top-tier talent at a discount price.
Yeah, and hopefully a little bit different a story just because one's an ACL. This was a significant ankle injury, though, that required surgery, missed half that season at Virginia. Yeah, you mentioned it, Aric. Big question mark, though, is, can Broncos doctors feel comfortable enough to convince John Elway that it's worth the risk, especially on day 2? But that sounds like where Hall's going to go, huh?
Yeah, and, it kind of depends. Do you think you can get him at 77? I think he'll be there, but, do you risk it and try to get him in the 90s with that 95th overall pick? He's kind of the cornerback sweetheart of this draft where, you read the replies to Ian Rappaport's tweet about him being medically cleared, and it's every team saying, this guy's a steal, we got to get him. So it'll be interesting to see how much teams value him and if he maybe goes a little bit earlier than expected.
Maybe he's a top of the class kind of guy, but falls into a day 2 diamonds video. Hi, Aric.
Exactly, Phil.
That's the type of guy he is. All right, that's our look at some cornerbacks the Broncos might take a look at on day 2 of the draft. That's going to do it for us. For Aric DiLalla, I'm Phil Milani.